How are you, Prof. Asma? Hope you're well.
Yeah, I'm okay. Alhamdulillah.
And
How about you, Dr. Huda?
very well, Alhamdulillah. Our Vice Dean is here already. Fahim. Assalamualaikum, Fahim.
Waalaikumsalam, Bu Auda, Prof.
Assalamualaikum,
Asma.
Pak Him. Ya,
Sehat, Prof. Asma?
Alhamdulillah sehat.
Alhamdulillah, baik.
Kita tunggu sebentar lagi ya, Bapak Ibu.
Iya, Bu Auda.
Baik, Fahim.
Teman-teman tadi lagi ngumpul lagi pada habis selesai makan terus pada nanyain linknya mana gitu. Saya share lagi tadi.
Terima kasih, Fahim. Lanjut jadi kegiatannya.
Siap.
Padat
Sehat, Bu
kegiatan.
Auda ya.
Ya, Alhamdulillah, Pak. This morning we also have guest, Prof. Asma. So we have, this morning we have a workshop and continue this afternoon with you. So today is full of learning. Silahkan mungkin Bu Intan. Kita mulai saja ya Pak, sudah 1.30.
Sudah saya mulai saja ya, Bu ya.
Iya, silakan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Good afternoon.
Waalaikumsalam.
Good afternoon. Warm greetings to everyone. Welcome to our general lecture adjunct professor with the theme Empowering Research with Bibliometric Analysis and Structural Equation Modeling. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Intan Puspawangi, and I'm honored to serve as your master of ceremony for today's event. This event is held to enrich our research skills and insights, featuring special sessions led by our honored guests. First, allow me to extend a warm welcome to our guest speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Siti Asma Binti Hasan from University Teknologi Malaysia. We are also joined by Vice Dean 3, Dr. Insinyur Himawan Hadisutisno, who will deliver welcoming remarks, and as well as our moderator, Dr. M. Akmin Ramadan, who will guide the main session of general lecture. This event is open to all members of the Faculty of Engineering academic community, and we thank you for joining us virtually this afternoon. Before we begin, allow me to remind everyone to kindly keep your microphones muted during the sessions, and feel free to use the chat for questions or comments. And please fill the attendance form in the link, which will be available in the chat room. Without further ado, let's begin our program with welcoming remarks from the Dean of the Faculty of Engineering, Universitas Negeri Jakarta, Profesor Dr. Neneng Siti Silvi Ambarwati. Since the Dean is unable to join us in person, we will now listen to a special recorded message from her.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon us all. Distinguished guests, Associate Professor Insinyur Dr. Siti Asmah Binti Hasan from University Teknologi Malaysia, our esteemed speaker today, Dr. Insinyur Himawan Hadisutrisno MT, Vice Dean 3 of the Faculty of Engineering UNJ, our moderator Dr. Akpin Ramadan, Our MC, Miss Intan Puspawangi, faculty members, researchers, and all members of the FTUNJ academic community. Praise be to Allah for granting us the opportunity to gather today in this general lecture under the Adjunct Professor Program, carrying the theme Empowering Research with Bibliometric Analysis and Structural Equation Modeling. Ladies and gentlemen, in today's rapidly evolving academic landscape, the ability to identify research trends and analyze complex relationships among variables has become increasingly vital. Bibliometric analysis and structural equation modeling (SEM) are widely recognized as powerful and influential methods that elevate the quality, visibility, and global impact of scientific publications. Through this lecture, I hope that all lecturers, students, and researchers will be able to strengthen their capacity in conducting data-driven and evidence-based research, enhance the quality and competitiveness of international publications, broaden collaborative opportunities between UNJ and UTM, especially through adjunct professor engagement and joint research initiatives. I would also like to extend my heartfelt appreciation to the organizing committee led by Dr. Audah Diamah, whose dedication has ensured the excellent preparation and smooth organization of this program. I wish all participants an insightful, enriching, and inspiring session. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Professor Dr. Neneng Siti Cynthia Ambarwati, for your inspiring words and valuable guidance. The next agenda, we will hear the welcome speech from the 15th. I would like to invite Dr. Insinyur Himawan Hadistrisno MT to deliver his welcome address. Please, Dr. Himawan, the screen is yours.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Distinguished speakers, honors, guests, and all participants. Please allow me to permission to opening remark by bahasa. Terima kasih kepada semua yang telah hadir pada siang hari ini. Kesempatan kali ini adalah kesempatan yang sangat baik karena yang terhormat Ibu Siti Asmah yang telah meluangkan waktunya, yang terhormat kepada Bu Audah, Bu Intan, Pak Pin yang telah meluangkan waktunya juga untuk kegiatan siang hari ini. Kegiatan siang hari ini sangat penting karena akan membawa kita kepada informasi-informasi yang terbaru, membawa kita akan peningkatan ilmu pengetahuan khususnya bidang engineering, dan pada umumnya nanti akan membawa kita ke ranah internasionalisasi sehingga Fakultas Teknik bisa berkembang dan akan lebih maju. Mungkin itu saja dari kami. Terima kasih Bu Intan, terima kasih Prof. Asmah dan rekan-rekan Bu Audah. Semoga kegiatan hari ini berjalan lancar. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Insinyur Himawan Hadisutrisno MT, for your encouraging words and motivation. Before we move to the main session, we will have a group photo for documentation purposes. I kindly ask all participants to turn on your cameras, prepare your best smiles, and we will take a screenshot to capture this memorable moment. Dr. Audah will take our photo session. Please, I kindly ask Dr. Audah to lead the photo session.
Okay, thank you. Please, everyone, please turn on their camera and then on my marks. Okay. 3, 2, 1, first slide. Okay, the next slide.
Already finished, Dr. Auda?
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Auda, and thank you for your participation, for all the participation. This photo will serve as a wonderful memory of today's event. Dear distinguished participants, we are now approaching the main event session to be delivered by our guest speaker. This session will be guided by our moderator, Dr. Muhammad Akpin Ramadan, SPD MPD. Allow me to introduce our moderator. Dr. Muhammad Akpin Ramadan is an assistant professor in the Building Construction Education Department, Faculty of Engineering, Universitas Negeri Jakarta. His core expertise lies in curriculum planning, learning assessment, and the integration of digital technologies into technical and vocational education and training, or TVET. His current research focuses on curriculum innovation, digital and mobile learning in vocational setting, BIM, or building information modeling integration in higher education, digital pedagogy, and vocational teacher preparedness. Dr. Muhammad Akpin Ramadan actively combines academic roles with practical engagement. This includes working with the Ministry of Education on school infrastructure evaluation and leading various training, accreditation, and curriculum development initiatives. Let's warmly welcome Dr. Muhammad Akpin Ramadan as our moderator for this event. Dr. Muhammad Akpin, the screen is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Bu Intan. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Akpin Ramadan, and I will be your moderator for the main session today. We are privileged to be joined by all participants today for the general lecture young professor on the timely and relevant topic, empowering research with bibliometric analysis and structural equation modeling. I would like to specifically acknowledge the presence of Prof. Dr. Nereng Siti Silvia Ambarwati, Pak Himawan, Dr. Himawan, the Vice Dean, and the most importantly, our distinguished speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Siti Asmah binti Hasan from University Technology Malaysia. And we are now ready to proceed directly to the core of our event, the general lecture. Now let's move the main session. Associate Prof. Dr. Siti Asmah Hasan is an Associate Professor of Civil Engineering at University Technology Malaysia, UTM. She holds a Bachelor Engineering, Civil Engineering, and the Master Engineering, Transportation Engineering from University Technology Malaysia, and earned her PhD in Civil Engineering Transportation from the University of Southampton, United Kingdom. Her research expertise lies in traffic engineering, transport modeling, and road safety, with a current focus on traffic breakdown detection, distracted driving risk assessment, transit-oriented development, and flood-induced transport vulnerability. She applies and advanced methodologies, including microsimulation and statistical modeling and analysis, to address critical transportation challenges. At UTM, Prof. Siti Asmah supervised doctoral, master's, and undergraduate project, coordinate industrial training programs, and contribute to curriculum development in traffic engineering, safety engineering, and disaster resilient infrastructure. She also served as a reviewer for leading journals such as Accident Analysis and Prevention and the Journal of Safety Research. Her work advanced safer, more sustainable and resilient transportation system. And ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Associate Professor Dr. Siti Asmah binti Hasan. Prof. Asmah, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Akvin. Can everybody see my slide?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you very much for Faculty University Technology at University Negeri Jakarta. Okay, Dr. Oda, Pak Him, Dr. Agvin, and also Dr. Intan, Bu Intan, yeah. So today I will be sharing about empowering research with bibliometric and structural equation modeling. Right. So today, okay, the first part of the lecture or the sharing session will be on bibliometric analysis, and then we will see how it connects to the structural equation modeling. Okay. So I have structured the bibliometric topic into few subtopics. So we will see, okay. So here I want to show how bibliometric analysis and structural equation modeling complement each other. Okay, so bibliometric analysis is more of a big picture tool. It helps us map the overall research landscape, what topics are trending, where the gaps are, and how different themes or authors connect. So it doesn't test anything, okay? Instead, it tells us what the field is talking about, okay? Where opportunities exist. So this kind of bibliometric analysis is very useful for chapter 2. Okay, I mean in the chapter literature review for research and also for the publication purpose. Okay. On the other hand, structural equation modeling takes us into the analytical side. Okay. Once we know what factors matter, okay, SEM helps us build a theoretical model and test the relationship between the factors or the constructs. So while bibliometric tells us the direction of the research, SEM tells us whether those relationships hold when we examine the data. Okay, so in short, bibliometric analysis shows us where to focus. Okay, in the kind of many literature in the database, where to focus. Okay. And SEM help us discover whether our assumptions about relationship are valid. Okay, so together, this tool, bibliometric analysis and the structural equation modeling create a very strong research workflow, from mapping the field to validating the theory or the assumption. Okay, so before we go deeper into the bibliometric analysis, it is important to clarify that clear bibliometric analysis actually help us in achieving a few targets. Okay, at its core, bibliometric gives us a big picture view of the research field or research area. Okay, it lets us see how a topic has grown over time and whether the interest is increasing or fading. Okay. It also tells us who is contributing the most, because we are going to look into the most contributing authors in the literature. Okay. And then the contributing institutions or even countries. Okay. Through citation pattern, we can understand, okay, which scientific work has a very impactful impact, okay, in the research area. So through citation pattern, we can understand how they influence, okay, and how knowledge spread. So we can also detect collaboration networks, okay, who is working with whom and which groups drive most of the research. So most importantly, bibliometric mapping helps us identify the gaps and the emerging areas. Okay, it shows us where the field is heading, what is trending now, and where future research opportunities lie. Okay, so basically this set of objectives represent why bibliometric is so useful: to understand the landscape, the players, the connections, and the open spaces where new contributions can be made. Right? So when we conduct bibliometric analysis, these are among popular research questions, okay, in our topics. Okay, what are the current publication trend in the research? Okay, studies in this area keep growing or now declining or still stabilizing over time. So this gives us a sense of how active and relevant the topic currently is. Okay, So I think that the most common challenge when we start with our research, what is the most recent topic that we have to focus? So this bibliometric can help us in this direction. Okay. So, okay, next we often examine the state of collaboration. Okay. The state of the collaboration, we want to know who is working with whom, whether collaboration is happening across institutions, countries, or research groups. Okay, so this also helps us in identify strong research network. Okay, for us to find the future or the potential collaborator in our research. Okay, another important question involves influential articles. Okay, which papers are shaping the field? These highly cited works often serve as the theoretical backbone for future study. Okay, and finally, we explore a popular theme. So, which themes are the most popular among scholars? So, this helps us see the hotspot as well as emerging or underexplored areas. Right. So when we start doing the bibliometric analysis using Voice Viewer, there are two types of analysis we can do. Citation analysis can be subcategorized into co-citation, co-authorship, and co-occurrence keywords. Okay, we will look into this later. And the other one is the content analysis, where we do the text data analysis, the terms occurrence frequency, and thematic analysis, right? So this helps us in understanding or in identifying the emerging trend in our research focus. Okay. Right. So this is the common procedures in conducting the bibliometric analysis. We start with the searching for the database. There are many databases in our research. We can use Scopus, we can use Web of Science, Google Scholar, and many more. Okay, the most database I use is Scopus because it provides a bigger network of literature compared to the WOS. All right. So when we start searching for the database, we need to identify what is the keyword or the focus of our research. Okay, we have to identify that one first. And then we put in or key in that database, the keyword inside the database that we have chosen. And then we screen based on time frame, based on the language and document type. Okay, and finally extracting the data from the database, right? And then doing the analysis and finally writing up. So in the publication, normally this is the common framework we report in our papers or in our thesis. Okay, this is the we start with topic, the general topic before we going down or to the focus area. For example, here the keywords and the string are focusing on the e-commerce, electronic commerce, something like that. All right. And finally, we identified that how many literature was obtained using this specific keyword. So in this slide, it written about 4,656 literature, and there is no inclusion. So finally, we use that 4,656 document in our analysis. Okay. So in my earlier slide, I have shown you the step, okay, or the procedures. So now, okay, the procedure is complemented with the Scopus database screenshot to help you in identifying or in proceeding with the task, okay, using the Scopus database, right? And then we can use the basic analysis. We can use Microsoft Excel. And then Voice Viewer is a tool for us to provide to produce the map, the bibliometric map. Okay. So these are among Voice Viewer output. Okay, the first one is the evolution of the research topic within a specified period. So this slide shows how research topic in this area have evolved over time. Okay. If you can see here on the right part of the slide here, so this is actually showing the range of the evolution of the research topic over time. Okay. So on the left is the article where we documented the entire process, focusing on the vulnerability of transportation networks under natural hazards. So this study allowed us to trace how the field has developed across different years. Okay. So on the right is we call it as a VOS viewer overlay visualization. Okay. So what's special about this map is that it doesn't just show keyword. Okay. It shows that when certain topics became active. Okay. So the color gradient shown in the map represent time. Okay, all the topics tend to appear in blue or green color. So can we see here as natural hazards, critical infrastructure protection, GIS. These are the older topics. Okay, and then the most recent or emerging keyword appears in yellow. Okay, for example, here we see the disaster preparedness, bridge management. Okay, so this time-based visualization helps us understand the direction of the field. Okay, what was important in the past, what is the current hotspot, and where research seems to be shifting. So it gives us a sense of the field's maturity and also shows which areas may still be developing or underdeveloping. Okay, so this slide presents the bibliometric analysis we conducted for distracted driving research. So on the right is the VOS viewer map showing the key themes that have emerged from almost 2 decades of research, okay, from 1999 up to 2023. So the size of each keyword reflects how frequently it appears in the literature. Okay, so in this case, because the focus of the study was distracted driving, so distracted driving become the biggest size, okay, in the map. And the colors indicate how recent topics are based on the color scale at the bottom. Okay, so you will notice that distracted driving is the central and most dominant term, which is expected because that is the topic and the focus of my topic. So around it, we start to see related clusters forming. Okay, for example, keywords such as machine learning, attention mechanism, association rule mining, random forest, and SVM. So SVM, random forest, is something related to machine learning. Okay, so here we see a different map of the VOS viewer. Okay, so this is so this is the different visualization produced by the VOS viewer. So this is we call the density. This shows the density of the research topic. Okay, the larger the keyword appears, the more frequently it occurs in the literature. Okay, so from the maps, it is very clear that risk assessment, disasters, vulnerability, okay, transportation, and network security are the central themes in this field. Okay, these are the hot topics that dominate the research discussion. Okay, you can also see how the keywords cluster together. So each cluster represents a sub area or research direction. Okay, for example, here I have make it into 4 clusters. So one cluster is focused on the natural hazard, another on intelligent systems, and another on traffic and safety related issues. So this clustering helps us understand how the field is structured and where different lines of research are connected. Okay, so the density maps provide a heat map style visualization. Okay, the bright red and yellow areas show where research is heavily concentrated, okay, indicating very active teams. Okay, meanwhile, the cooler areas, like blue, green, show topics that appear less frequently. These are potential research gaps or emerging opportunities. Okay, altogether, This visualization helps us see the landscape of research at a glance. Okay, so what topics are being discussed most, how they relate to each other, and where future research could be directed. Okay, so this slide illustrates the co-occurrence of author keywords in the area of autonomous vehicles operating in mixed traffic condition. Okay, so on the right is the voice viewer map, okay, that visualize how different keywords used by authors appear together across various studies. Each color represents a different cluster, okay, so which essentially groups topics that tend to appear together in the same research papers. Okay, at the center of the map, okay, the largest node represents the most frequently used keywords. Okay, so here the focus was autonomous vehicles and mixed traffic. So these two keywords dominate the landscape of the bibliographic map. Okay, so surrounding them, we will see clusters related to specific subtopics. For example, one cluster focuses on traffic flow, microsimulation, and driving behavior. Okay, so the map helps us understand how research teams are interconnected. Okay, so keywords that appear close together show strong thematic relationship, indicating that these areas are often studied together. Okay, so and this is also showing the co-occurrence of author keywords with clusters. Okay, so the topic was related to the surrogate safety measure in autonomous vehicles. Okay, so this study reviews how different researchers approach safety assessment, okay, especially when dealing with autonomous vehicles and mixed traffic environment. Okay, so here, okay, the map showing the keywords are grouped into clusters. Okay, so now we are having 4 clusters here. Cluster 1 shows the surrogate safety measures for safety assessment of mixed traffic. Okay, so what are the metrics or the approach used in assessing the safety of the autonomous vehicle without relying on the crash data? Okay, because we know AV is a very new technology, so the crash data is very rare to get, okay, or non-existent. All right, and then the cluster 2 in yellow here. So it looks at human factors in accident. So this including topics like driver behavior, reaction time, distraction, and decision making. So it highlights the human element, okay, in the safety assessment related to AV. And cluster 3 in green is related to the use of vSIM for safety simulation. So researchers in this cluster use microscopic simulation to model interaction and assess conflict points in mixed traffic. And cluster 4 in red focuses on safety evaluations of AV. So this includes testing framework, performance metrics, and methodologies, okay, for evaluating the AV. So together, these clusters paint a complete picture of the field, from human behavior to simulation tools, from surrogate safety indicators to AV-specific evaluation methods. Okay. Right. So this slide presents the extended part of the bibliometric analysis, where we move beyond the keyword networks and look at broader pattern. So let's begin with the global distribution and internal collaboration, okay, at the top. Okay, this map summarizes which countries are actively publishing in this research area. We can see that research output is not evenly distributed. So countries like US and China and several European nations dominate the publication landscape. Okay, so the darker the color, the more active the research community. So this also gives us an idea where international collaborations are happening and where the topic is gaining traction globally, right? So next at the bottom, we have the strategic thematic map, a more advanced analysis that position author keywords based on 2 dimensions, okay, which is a relevance degree or centrality on the x-axis and development or density on the y-axis. So this map creates 4 quadrants, okay, motto themes, okay, highly relevant and well-developed. So here we see certain keywords, for example, disaster management, earthquake, accessibility, seismic risk, climate change, okay, are in the motto themes, okay, the highly relevant and well-developed. And then we have niche themes here, okay, so well-developed but less central. And we have emerging or declining themes here, low relevance and low development. And we have basic theme, highly relevant but underdeveloped. For example, here, risk assessment, vulnerability assessment, GIS, exposure risk analysis, environmental justice, air pollution. So this map tells us which areas are well established, which areas are still evolving. Okay, for instance, keywords appearing in the motto themes quadrant are the driving forces of the field. Okay, topics that the researchers consistently build on. Okay, meanwhile, themes in the lower left quadrant may indicate areas that are either emerging or losing momentum depending on the context. So together, these 2 analyses, global comparison and thematic evolution, help us understand not just what researchers are studying, but also where and how those topics are progressing over time. So this kind of extended analysis is valuable for identifying collaboration opportunities, benchmarking research impact, and spotting potential gaps for research works. Okay, so using those viewer, we identified the major themes, the trends, and the relationships discussed across the literature. Okay, so this gives us a big picture understanding of what factors or what construct matters and how they are conceptually connected. Okay. However, bibliometric mapping only shows what the literature talk about, not whether the proposed relationship actually hold true in real data. So the next step is to bring this insight into an empirical framework. So now we move from what does the literature say to can we test this relationship using data? So this is where structural equation modeling comes in. Okay, SEM allow us to take the construct or the factors identified from the literature. Okay, for example, service quality, satisfaction, equity, confidence, and sacrifice. And statistically test how they interact and influence the outcomes or the final finding. Okay, so now we're moving on to the structural equation modeling. Okay, so these are the outline of the topics related to the SEM. Later on, we will see the demonstration of both bibliometric and the SEM. Okay. So first, SEM is essentially a statistical framework that helps us explain how multiple variables relate to each other. Okay, like here. Okay, there are many variables and how they interact with each other. Okay, instead of analyzing one variable at a time, SEM allows us to model complex relationships, okay, involving many indicators and latent constructs simultaneously. So the variable indicated in the circle, this is we call latent variable, or the variable that we do not observe directly. Okay. So second, SEM doesn't just tell us whether the relationship exists, okay, between the factors. It also gives us the magnitude, the direction, and statistical significance of both direct and indirect effect. Okay. For example, a variable can influence an outcome directly, or it may influence it through another construct. Okay. And finally, the SEM allow us to handle multivariate and multi-equation problems in one single analysis. Instead of running several separate regression, SEM integrates all the relationship into one model. Okay, so this is why SEM is widely used when we have a theoretical model involving multiple variables or factors. Okay. Okay. So here the arrows represent the coastal pathway. Okay, the DF. This is we call it the independent variable, and the other one is the dependent variable. Okay. So in the SEM, okay, we can have two direction of arrows like this. Okay, one pointing outward, and the other one pointing inward. Okay. So if we look at this model, okay, X1, X2, and X3 pointing to F1. Okay, so this is a formative measurement. The indicators, okay, X1, X2, X3, define the F1, okay, define the construct. So F1 or the construct, we call it as a latent variable, okay? So for example here, let's say F1 is the socio-economic status. So the socio-economic status formed by income, education, and occupation. Okay. And the other one, arrows go from X to F. Okay, from X to F. So this is we call it a reflective measurement. So the construct explain the indicators. Okay, indicators are manifestation of the latent variable. For example, the depression causing symptoms such as sadness, like here. Okay, so in the depression causing symptoms such as sadness, fatigue, and sleep disturbance. Okay, so that's why arrows go from depression to the indicators. Okay. All right. So there are many types of SEM, and the use of each of these are different. Okay. So in my case, I normally use the PLS SEM, okay, partial least square SEM. So where we predict something, okay, or we develop or building a prediction model, okay, which commonly used in the engineering field. Okay. The other one is the covariance-based SEM. Okay, when the objective is the theory confirmation. So this is normally used for the social science, but somehow it's also used in my field because the transportation can be integrated in the social science research as well. Right? Okay, so these are few aspects, okay, differentiate the tools of the SEM and other analysis type, for example, MANOVA and other multiple regression. Okay, so okay, we will go to this. Yeah, any question? All right, so there are a few limitations using the SEM. Okay, number one is the sample size. So if we have many indicators, we need relatively very large sample. Okay, otherwise we cannot make some conclusion, or the model we develop may be unstable. Okay, and the second one is the weak measurement models. So if we have a very low factor loading, let's say lesser than 0.7, so it makes the measurement model is very weak. So consequently, the structural path of the model is uninterpretable, okay, because the latent variables are not well defined. The third one is the complexity issue. It's very complex model can become under-identified or very weakly identified. So which requires technical skill to detect and to correct the model. And the fourth one is the limited causal inference. The direction of arrows is an assumption that must be justified theoretically or with design. So these are the specific procedures this is the specific procedures in the structural equation modeling. Okay, so we start with the defining the individual construct. And then we test the measurement model in terms of the indicator quality and the model reliability and validity. Okay. Once we achieve this, we go to the assessment of the structural model. And then we test the relationship between latent variables. And then we proceed the validity of the structural model. And finally make a conclusion or reporting the finding. So in this slide, I have outlined very detailed procedures. What are the steps that you have to take or you have to consider when you conduct the structural equation modeling, right? So the first one, we start with constructing defining the construct. Okay, from the literature search, we have identified what factors matters the most. Okay, in the literature. And then from that, we do the EFA or exploratory factor analysis using this tool, okay, to make sure that the indicator is sufficient to be used in the model development. And then assessment of the measurement model using the confirmatory factor analysis and multicollinearity of the indicators. These two basically is conducted to verify the quality of the indicators. Okay. And normally when the factor loading is lesser than 0.7, we exclude the indicator from the model.
Ya, apa? Granit. Granit atau apa ya bagusnya? Biasa.
Right. And then after that, we proceed with the reliability and the validity checking. And finally, structural model assessment using bootstrapping, multicollinearity, and predictive relevance. All right. So this is one of the research topics that just completed. Okay, so here on the left side, the blue circle shows the distracted driving. Okay, using HHMP. So this is reflecting the handheld mobile phone. Okay. Through the bibliometric analysis, we have defined that in the distracted driving behavior studies, the technological use is one of the emerging trend in the distracted driving research, right? So here, I just want to show a simple SEM model using one latent variable on the left and one latent variable on the right, right? So here, distracted driving is the behavior that we can't observe directly, okay? Right, so the distracted behavior or this distracted driving behaviors are measured using 3 indicators, which are following gap distance, relative speed, and operating speed, right? So now we want to test how these distracted driving behaviors affecting safety or transportation safety. So in real case, we cannot measure safety, but we can use one indicator or we can measure the time to collision to reflect the safety condition of our road. Okay, so here we run the SEM and we test how this factor affecting road traffic safety. Right, so there is one relationship between X and Y, right? And SEM also allow us to do a moderating or mediating effect. So in this case, we use road geometry configuration. Okay, how road geometry configuration affecting the relationship between distracted driving and safety on the road. Okay, so there are two variables or indicators in the road geometry configuration, which is number of lane and I don't remember what is the RT, right turn, something like that. Right? So this is a very simple SEM model, one latent variable, and how does one latent variable affecting the other one latent variable. And here we have more complex SEM model. Okay, we want to analyze the relationship between risk perception and travel behavior during the different phases of the pandemic. Okay, and finally we found that those who did not have close contact with COVID-19 patient, which is CC3, okay, initially we have CC1, CC2, and CC3, but in the final model, we finally found that CC3, okay, who did not have close contact with COVID-19 patient, would have perceived that the pandemic could be controlled, okay? And this is another more complicated SEM model. Okay, so this study wanted to explore the relationship between influential factors of situation awareness, SA, with the aim of providing suggestion to improve driver training and driving regulation. Okay. Okay, so now we move on to the demonstration of the tool. Okay. In this sharing session, I have used both viewer and SEM. Okay, we start with the both viewer. Right. So how do we start now? Okay, so we have to find the research topic, research question, and relevant topics. Okay. So now I have provided you with the string, the keyword string here. Okay. So let's start with this one. All right. So this is the Voice Viewer software. Okay. You can Google it and you can download it for free. All right. All right. So I have provided you with the keyword from the, let me check that. Okay, here. So this is the search string that we are going to use, okay, in the demonstration. So initially, okay, this is something, okay, this is some error here. Okay, so initially using this keyword or this key search string, I got 1,244 documents, okay, from the Scopus database. And then we limit it to the article and conference paper. And this is the final search string to be used in the analysis, which is n equal to 1,193. So how do we start? Okay, we start with the finding the literature search, okay, using the Scopus database. So I go to, okay, in UTM, we go to UTM library. So for UNJ, you can also go to maybe, you go to your database to access the Scopus. Okay, let me check. Okay. And then, okay, so using that keyword, we will put inside the Scopus database. And from here, we download the CSV file. Okay, we go to database. Then we go to Scopus. Okay, we can also use other database, for example, WOS. Okay. Okay, so while waiting for the Scopus to load, okay, we check this one. Okay. Okay, all right, sign in. So I use this keys initially, this one. So we go to the advanced document search. Okay, so enter the query string. So what I normally use is the title abs. Okay, title abstract. So it will return the literature, it will return the keywords written in the title and abstract of the paper. Okay, you can also use title abs keyword. Okay, so it will return the word that is written in the title, abstract, and keyword of the paper. Okay, but normally I use this one, title abs. Okay, so you just type in your keyword. So in this slide, I have identified what are the research keyword that I want to use for demonstration purpose. So it's written about 1416, maybe because 1416 document. All right. So I wanted to only return the article and conference paper. Okay. And limit to the publication stage of the final paper. Okay. And language English. So you can do the filtering on the left side, okay, from the database here. So I limit it to article and conference paper. And then what else? Limit to final stage. Okay, I don't want the article in press. And then limit it to English only. So limit to. So now the literature is 1194, right? So as of 24 November, it was 1193 papers, okay? So within these 3 days or 4 days, okay, there is another one paper, okay, added in the database, right? So select all documents and export to CSV file. Okay, select all the document here, and then we go to export the CSV file here, right? All right, then CSV file to be used. Right. Okay, you can choose all if you want to. Okay, but you can also exclude information that you don't want. For example, here, maybe I don't want other information, right? So export. Right? So okay, so in the link I have provided to you, okay, I have provided you with the Scopus spotted export here. Okay, these are the file that we are going to use. Right? So we go back to the CSV file. So this is the CSV file I use. And then there's another one, export filter count here, that will bring us to the Scopus exported refined value. Okay, so from this Scopus database, we can download 2 files. Okay, one is the Scopus export CSV file. The other one, okay, coming from the export file filter count is the Scopus exported refined value. Right. So now we go to the both viewer. Okay, so this is the main window of the both viewer. Right. So we want to create a map based on bibliographic data. And then next. So I want the software to read data from bibliographic database file. And next. And then I'm using Scopus database. So I click Scopus here. And then I go to my file, desktop. And then bibliographic demonstration, I use this one. Scopus export 1193. So this is the recent one. Okay. Next. Okay, next. So we have two options. Either we want to use the all keywords, or we can also use the author keyword. Okay, depending on your focus. So let's say now we want to check the co-occurrence of the keyword for all keywords, right? So next. So if I use minimum number of occurrences of the keyword 5, it will return about 565 keyword, right? But if I make it lower, let's say 2, it will bring more numbers of keyword, about 2000 plus. Okay, so now I'm using 5. Next, next. So these are the keywords, okay, from the literature. Finish. So this is the map generated by the keyword. Okay, so this is a raw map because we haven't clustered it yet into key thematic cluster, right? So here we go to the left part of the both viewer software. On the left, we click item. So the map has 7 clusters. Okay, so we can make it smaller so that we can see the pattern. So we go to analysis and then we go to clustering resolution. Let's say we try 0.5 and we update clustering. So I think this is only one cluster. For one cluster, we cannot see the theme, right? So let's try 0.8. Update clustering. So now we have about 4 clusters. Okay. So maybe, okay, by looking carefully, okay, into the keyword obtained here, we may be able to make a name for that cluster, right? All right. So from here, this is the network visualization. We can also look into the overlay visualization. So it shows the evolution of the keyword, okay, over time. So from 2016 to 2022, so we can see that here, okay, machine learning is the current hotspot, okay, related to disasters. And the other one is performance, uncertainty, post disasters. Okay, we can also change the time range. Okay, let's make it into 2010 until 2023 or 2024 or 2023. So close. So now we see the pattern from 2010 until 2023. So I think, okay, we can see the growth of the publication over time. And then here the density visualization. So this
Prof. Asma.
Suaranya hilang ya,
Ya.
Prof. Asma?
Mungkin setelah ini langsung Q&A ya, Bu Auda ya.
Mungkin bisa ya, sambil di-remind ke beliau
Ya.
waktunya.
Baik, Bapak Ibu, kita tunggu sebentar. Mungkin terkendala jaringan karena cukup berat itu.
Ya, beliau terputus sebentar, Bapak Ibu. Saya sedang menghubungi beliau.
Alright, okay, I'm sorry about the disconnection of and also the video is also,
You're upside down.
yeah, upside down. I don't know why. Okay, but I'm not sure why maybe never mind, I will just proceed, okay? Okay, and then sharing.
Prof. Asma,
Yeah.
maybe your presentation 5 minutes because we continue the Q&A session, yeah, Prof.
All right, no problem, Dr.
Yeah.
Arifin. So I proceed with I think with the SEM. Can you see my slide?
Yeah.
Yes, all right. All right, so I will proceed with the SEM demonstration. Okay, so here, so basically, okay, if I look at the Smart PLX, okay, I open up the Smart PLS 4. Okay, so here we start with new project, for example. Not responding. Okay, so we just proceed with this, I think with the slide. So the slide of the Smart PLS4 demonstration basically will help everybody on how to begin with the Smart PLS4. Okay, so we open up the workspace. So we create folder and you can name it according to your preference. And then, okay, like me here, okay, in the slide, I put SEM1. And then we import the data file. So I have provided you with the SEM sample data. So we use the sample data too for the demonstration. So we import that data file. Then the SEM PLS4 will show you this screen. And then we import this data. And finally, when we start to do the measurement model, we start using the PLS-SEM here. Okay, here, PLS-SEM. And you name the model. For example, in my case, if I look into the distracted driving and safety, I put it as DD for easier reference, right? And then when we try to save this file or this model, all the data will appear on the left of the SEM PLS4 like this. Okay, so the sample data provided us with information about the few indicators. For example, here SQ1 until SQ4 are referring to service quality. Okay, and the SE1 until SE4 are referring to service equity. CB1 until CB5 are referring to confidence benefit. And finally, we are going to test the effect or the impact of all these indicators to the customer satisfaction and repurchase intention. Okay, so we highlight all the indicators and we bring it to the center of the workspace here. Okay, so when you drag it to the center of the workspace, it will return us with this latent variable and its respective indicators like this. Okay, so we do it for all the 4 variables. for latent variables and also for the dependent latent variables like this. Okay, so initially when we drag it to the workspace, the arrow is like that. Okay, all of them are positioned in the middle, okay, between the circle. So we can change the direction like this to out like this by clicking these indicators. Okay, by clicking this file. Right. So now when we try to develop the model, we click connect here. Okay, and we put our cursor to the one service, let's say service quality, and drag it to the customer satisfaction. So it will make this blue, these circles blue. From red, it becomes blue. And then we connect all the indicators to all the latent variables. Okay, so this is what we call a measurement model or inner model. And this is what we call a structural model, where we connect the two latent variables, right? So, okay, this is the measurement model we use. So how do we start? We calculate the PLS SEM logarithm, and then we select factor because we are going to test the factor loading. Okay, and then it will produce a map like this. And then we need to select the outer loading, and we can choose either matrix or list depending on your preference. In my case, I prefer to have to use matrix. Okay, so any variables which have a factor loading lesser than 0.708 will be excluded from my model. Okay, but the threshold value of 0.7 or VIF less than 0.3, it depending on the literature that you choose. Okay, some other literature use a different threshold value. Okay, for example, VIF, some scholars prefer 5, some scholars use 10. Okay, and then we proceed with the reliability and validity checking of the construct. So these are the function. Okay, so in the SEM PLS4, we select construct reliability and validity and click overview, and it will return this value for us to check the composite reliability and convergent validity. And finally, we check the discriminant validity here. Okay. Okay, and then we finally proceed with the structural model assessment using the bootstrapping, multicollinearity, and predictive relevance. So this is how we do it, bootstrapping. So now, because we are looking into the structural model, so we select path. Okay, at any time, if we want to test the structural model, we always select path, right? So we select path coefficient and we look into the t statistic and we compare with this value. And then we check the multicollinearity of the construct. So again, we check the VIF. So VIF lesser than 3, so will be selected in the model. And finally, predictive relevance of the model. Okay, we choose path as well. And then it will bring us with the Q square predict. So all these value exceeding 0, so it is acceptable. And then finally, we check the model fit using the consistent PLS SEM algorithm. All right, so we use these two values, standardized root mean square residual and norm fit index. Okay. All right. So finally, we can interpret the outcome of the model. For example, here we choose, this is the perceived satisfaction here, PS, perceived sacrifice, okay, to the customer satisfaction. It has a very strong effect size, okay, but the direction is negative 0.968. High sacrifice sharply reduced customer satisfaction. So in the layman interpretation, We say that when the customers feel they have to sacrifice more, for example, they have to spend more money, more time, and more effort, their satisfaction drops sharply. Okay, and then we have another one, which is the effect or the impact of all these indicators to the repurchase intention. And then also the customer satisfaction effect to the repurchase intention here. Right? So that's all from me. So if you have any question or do you need some clarification, maybe we can discuss further.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Asma, for the comprehensive presentation. It was truly very insightful.
Hello, Dr. Afiq. I can hear your voice.
Yeah, Pak Akin.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Asma, for the comprehensive presentation. It's very insight for me, for the audience, and we have about 50 minutes for Q&A session. But I remember in a few minutes ago in INSEC conference, Prof, I submit 2 articles. The one about bibliometric and the one about SEM. In Indonesian people call SEM, SEM. So it's very interesting. Okay, and if the audience, if we have the question, you can text in chat box or jika ada pertanyaan bisa langsung ya atau menulis di kolom chat begitu. Prof. Asma, if we bibliometric or SEM in the article, we must interpret it about the output for the first viewer. How about your experience, Prof? What is the best way to interpret for example, like the visual pictures about the keyword and the author? What the best interpret to discuss in our article like that?
Okay, so normally for the bibliometrical analysis paper, when we talk about what is happening now, let's say which authors contribute the most, which countries contribute the most. Okay, that is the most common now. So what the publisher looking or the editors looking now is the emerging trend. Okay, what is the meaningful information you can bring out from the voice viewer analysis? Okay, for example, in the case of vulnerability assessment, this research area is quite new in the transportation network. So by having that bibliometrical analysis, we produce a few emerging trends. For example, we are now looking forward into the transportation network assessment in relation to the vulnerability in disaster management, but focusing on flooding, because like Malaysia, we are prone into flooding. I think we're similar with Indonesia, but in Indonesia, you have a earthquake also, right? So macam itu adalah antara yang you can come out with. And then we have a different culture with the European country. So in that case, in that sense, I think that we may need to have a targeted intervention that is suit with our culture. Okay, sometimes when we read papers, there is some other things that we cannot apply directly in our country, maybe because of the limitation of our data, for example. So what we can do?
Okay.
What are the tools we can use? What are the approach we can gather? Something like that.
Okay, Prof. This is first question comes from Bu Ririt in the chat box. How reliable the mapping from FOSS viewer without reading the paper itself, since it seems to be highly dependent to the keyword we input. Bu Ririt has
Okay.
3 questions.
Okay. Answer the first one first. Yeah, how reliable the mapping from the both viewer without reading the paper itself. Right. So basically, the both viewer map only providing us with the bigger picture of the literature. Okay. So that, let's say just now I demonstrate about 1,193 literature from the search ring I have provided. Okay. So the keyword from that 1,000 papers generated in the voice viewer, and it provides us with the map. Okay, that map is reliable. Okay, because the keyword is generated based on the literature that we obtain from the valid source. Okay, but then it's up to us to read back again the paper, because that map can only provide us with a bigger picture, with the landscape of the research, what is happening, what is the hotspot topic, what is the direction of the research, something like that, a bigger picture of the literature or the direction of the research. So in order for us to write a paper or to do our, let's say for PhD researcher, okay, for you to write, you have to read all the papers, or at least the most, what we call the hotspot papers in that 1,000 papers we obtained from the Scopus database. Okay. The second one, in the case of limited number of papers generated by a voice viewer, how do we make sure that the NN can be proceeded? Oh, okay. So if there is a very limited number of papers generated by voice viewer, there are a few reasons. Number one, maybe the keyword is not final yet, okay? Or the quality of the keyword is not up to its standard yet. Okay, because some of the keywords can have a multiple abbreviation or synonym. We call it synonym. Okay, for example, in disaster. Some other people put a plural, disasters, as. Some other people, disaster, they put something like natural hazard, but they are actually carry the same meaning. So in order for us to provide a better quality keyword, we have to read few more papers in order to get some idea what will be the potential keyword that reflect the intention of our research. Okay, that is number one. Okay, so we cannot proceed with the SEM procedure if they are very limited number. For example, I take my case. Let's say I'm going to do SEM analysis based on distracted driving, right? So in my research, I have identified, actually there are 3 parameters affecting the distracted driving, which is the following gap distance, SRS, relative speed, and operating speed. There are 3. So now, what happened if, let's say, from my research, I only found following gap distance affecting the distracted driving. So it seems like that the latent variable, which is distracted driving, is biased, because in real case, distracted driving can be affected, can be influenced by many random factors, not only one. All right. So when we do the SEM will generate the output, but then it will depend on us to justify, okay, the validity of that model. Okay. Number 3, is it possible if different variables applied can create incompatibility result? How to determine the best variable to be chosen? So we go back to the literature search. Okay. somehow, okay, let's say some other people, okay, in my case, in the vulnerability study, we have a sensitivity parameter, for example, the traffic volume. The traffic volume can fall under two different variable. It can fall under sensitivity variable, or it can fall under exposure variables. So now I am confused. Where should I put these traffic volume variables, in which category? So we have to identify first, what is the definition of each of the variables that we need to get, and then finally link it to the variables that we have to make sure that is aligned with the definition that we have identified. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Prof. Asma. Bu Ririt, any question again?
I'm sorry, Prof. Asma, can I ask further questions?
Oh ya, boleh.
Thank you very much. Actually, based on your experience on how to write the paper, which is using Bibliometric and SEM, how many trial and errors that you do before
How
you
many?
determine that I mean, how many trial and errors that you
Oh,
do
inside.
for, yeah.
Right.
So that it can be, I will say, yeah,
Preparing
it
yourselves.
deserves, it deserves
I
to be
know.
as a paper. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. All right. So for the bibliometric analysis, it is not depends on how many trial. It depends on how long you can finalize the search string. Okay, because from my experience, it can take because sometimes we are now very busy with many tasks like administration and many things. So we tend to have a distraction. Okay, so we lost focus in finding the right keyword for our bibliometric paper. Okay, so if we can focus, I think we can take up to 1 week to really finalize the search string. And after that, you can proceed with the analysis. Because from my experience, finalizing the keyword takes most time. Okay, sometimes when we do the analysis, in the middle of analysis, and then we go back reading the paper, and finally we found out that, oh, some of the keywords are actually related. Okay, but we did not include this keyword in the beginning because we do not know. So it's like that.
If I can have one more question.
Yeah, boleh.
Regarding the topic or maybe the theme that you determine from the very first, is it possible to change during the time that we search on a VOS viewer?
Yeah.
For example, so on how, I mean, so it will really how to say affected on how many, the difference on the keywords that we input. So I assume that it will be much more diverse once we get more inspiration during the search using VOS viewer. So how do we limit that this one is, we should stop until here and then we can proceed to the next procedure?
Okay, do you mean when to stop when searching for the keyword? All right.
Yeah.
So when to stop? So it depending on your target. All right. For in my experience, there are cases where I limit the search string up to certain years only. For example, from 2000 to only 10 years, like from 2014 to 2024. Because from the justification of my research, that 10 years shows a very big evolution in the research of the vulnerability and distracted driving or road safety. So I am focusing on that 10 years only. So I limit the keywords for that 10 years duration only, right? And in terms of keyword, sometimes we feel that in the middle of analysis that we found that some other keywords are missing, some other keywords should be excluded or included. So this is actually the real challenge in finalizing the keyword. Okay, so if that situation happens, I advise that we start with a very general keyword. Okay, especially for those who just started doing research, for example, a PhD research student or master student who just started with their research. So you are finding or try to finalizing the direction of your research. So you can start with the bibliometric analysis, but start with a very general term. Okay, like me, initially we start with a very general term, for example, transport vulnerability. And then towards the end, we realize that we can include many more, for example, disaster management. And then later on, vulnerability is also related to resilience of the infrastructure. But that one can be added later on. So as a beginner, we can start with a very general term or general keyword. So at least it helps us in finding the direction. We can see the pattern of the literature or the research, what is happening. We can see the direction, we can see the hotspot of the area, at least in the very beginning, before we move on, before we mature in the research. Is it okay, Bu Riri?
Yeah. Thank you for your insightful advices. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Welcome.
Menarik sekali ya, Prof ya, interesting, very interesting.
Ya, Pak
Prof,
Alvin, biasanya kita
Kevin,
buat hands-on.
iya, ini harus workshop 3 hari ini, Prof Asma nih.
Ya, betul-betul.
Because
And
iya,
then this
karena
one is only
because
a beginning tau. This is only the first start
yes,
of the bibliographic because there are many more. Like we can use R tool to generate the map.
yeah, yeah. Have you ever used Bibliosigny, Prof Asma?
Hah? Apa dia?
Like Phosphor, Bibliosigny?
Yeah, Biblioshiny.
Yeah,
We have used it, Biblioshiny,
yeah,
and also R Studio.
yeah, Art Studio.
Uh,
Yeah. Oke, ada
mhm.
lagi Bapak Ibu pertanyaan? Pak Him, kalau bisa nih Prof Asma, siapa tahu bisa kembali ke Jakarta ngisi workshop ya Prof ya.
Ya,
Karena
insya Allah
ini
sebab
memang, iya ini Prof, most of them in FTUNJ in hard science, for example, in mechanical engineering or civil engineering, is it possible if use SEM? Because ya sebagian besar kan kalau di UNJ karena bidangnya kependidikan mungkin sudah sering menggunakan SEM. Kalau yang hard science bagaimana, Prof?
harsain mechanical.
Like yeah, for example, in mechanical engineering or civil engineering,
Mm-mm.
not is it possible to use SEM?
Possible.
Possible ya?
It depends on your, I don't know about the mechanical punya area, but in the civil engineering, let's say my area, transportation. Okay.
Hmm.
Previously, I only focus on the technical term like speed, volume, many more. Okay, they are very technical. And then when we do the analysis, we use regression like logistic regression, what else, polynomial, many more. But most of them are regression analysis. But later on, when we read further, we realize that SEM can also be used in the civil engineering. For example, when I want to examine the relationship between the distracted driving and safety. Okay, so if we imagine, how do you measure the distracted driving? We can observe, like we see someone off the wheel, we see someone do not see in front of the vehicle. But how do you measure that? Okay, we can only measure the behavioral changes because of the distraction. So that's why we can use SEM. So the similar concept can also be applied for other area. Let's say the electrical or the mechanical, but I'm not sure what will be the focus of them.
Oke. Ya, thank you very much Prof Asma karena di Jakarta ini sekitar 3 menit lagi azan asar.
Ya, sudah pukul
Ya,
5 ya.
we conclude that Ya,
Alright.
kita siang ini sangat banyak belajar tentang two teknik data analysis, the bibliometric and SEM. We hope the most of lecturer in FTUNJ, Pak Himawan, ini dua teknik analisis data yang memang sangat menarik, Pak Him. Kalau ada FT mau ada workshopnya, mengundang dosen-dosen
Yeah.
atau mengundang mahasiswa. Kalau level S1 memang, how about in UTM, Prof? Is it, in undergraduate program study about bibliometric and SEM?
Ya, boleh.
Boleh.
Ya, boleh
Oh,
for their final year project.
okay. Oh,
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah, we can conclude that by mastering both bibliometric analysis and SEM, we are truly empowering research to tackle complex phenomena and contribute significantly to academic knowledge. Once again, we thank Prof. Asma for this invaluable knowledge, and thank you on behalf of FTWNJ. Thank you to all participants. I now hand the session back to our Master of Ceremony, Bu Intan, for the final closing.
Thank you, Dr. Akvin, for your help and support as the moderator. Dear distinguished participants, Alhamdulillah, we have reached the conclusion of today's general lecture. We would like to express our sincere gratitude to Associate Professor Insinyur Dr. Siti Asmah binti Hasan from University Technology Malaysia for delivering an extremely beneficial lecture. Professor Dr. Neneng Siti Sinfia Amarwati and Dr. Insinyur Himawan Hadis Trisno for delivering welcome addresses and showing continued support. Dr. Akvin as moderator for expertly facilitating the program, Dr. Audah Diamah for excellently chairing the organizing committee of this event, and all participants for your enthusiastic participation. Hopefully the insights and knowledge shared will inspire all of us to advance our research and academic pursuits even further. We apologize for any shortcomings and congratulate everyone on a successful event. With that, this event is officially closed. Have a pleasant day. Thank you and see you at the next academic forum. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Prof. Asma.
Yeah, thank you very much for everyone. Okay,
Yeah.
inshallah,
Thank you, Pak
let's keep
Akvin.
exploring.
Ya, Bu Prof. Thank you, Prof.
Terima
Yeah.
kasih Pak Akvin.
Ya, Bu.
Everyone, thank you. Pak Him, Bu Intan, thank you.
Iya,
Terima kasih Pak
izin
Him,
ini.
Dr. Audah, Bu Intan, Pak Agwin juga.
Ya, Prof.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam
Terima kasih, Pak
warahmatullahi
Him.
wabarakatuh. Terima kasih Pak Him, Bu Audah.
Ya, makasih Bapak Ibu. Terima kasih Mas Chandra, Pak Chandra, makasih sudah meng-host.
Sama-sama Ibu.
Ya,
Terima kasih Mas Chandra. Izin nih Bapak Ibu.
izin live Bapak Ibu. Tadian aja Pak Chandra. Terima kasih Pak.